So without further ado, let's jump in. First of all, let's just set the stage with a little knowledge about the artificial intelligence, and it's kind of important or interesting even to understand that this technology or the term artificial intelligence is around the block for a long time. So they basically started to develop artificial intelligence in their 50s, 60s of last century. They were basically building on a symbolic model. That means that they were trying to build an intelligent machine that can replicate or exceed human intelligence. So development started a long time ago. It went through a lot of iterations throughout the years, but like the milestones or the base milestones are the machine learning. We've probably heard this term before. We are giving some information to this bot or to this artificial computer, and it's actually learning by itself over the material that we've been given. Another milestone happened in around 2017 about deep learning. They developed something which was called neural networks. It's basically human-like behavior, or it's trying to replicate how humans would tackle different problems. So this is probably the time when you start to hearing about computer beating people in chess, or in the game Go, which is like the most complicated board game in the world, and stuff like that. So it came from machine learning, and later on from it benefited from the deep learning as well. And now we are here in today's age. Basically, another subcategory of artificial intelligence emerged, and it was generative AI. And this is really the time when it sparked the interest in the general public. Well, generative AI, it was first publicly available in 2021. I guess those guys got bored during COVID and came up with these crazy ideas. But anyhow, that's like the type of the AI that is available to us today, and that we are exposed to the most. And the AI technology is basically here. It's not going to go anywhere. This is probably the reason why you are here today, because you want to learn a little bit more about how you can actually use this generative AI technology within the Microsoft ecosystem, which is the topic of the today presentation. But it's good to understand that the Chat GPT and AI technology is not going to go anywhere. We should probably learn how to use it, so we are not afraid of it, or the general public speaking is not afraid of it in the future, because it's here to enhance us. It's not to here to overcome us or something like that. Anyhow, let's look into this a little bit more deeper. So you probably heard from the news as well that there is a certain partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft. Microsoft actually owns 49% of the company, and they made a pretty tight couple, because they are co-developing these generative models, and they are also, which is a pretty huge news or pretty important to me, they are working together on the APIs. Because APIs is the way that you actually interact with these models, and if they are built by Microsoft, well, they are going to work very well within the Microsoft ecosystem. And with the recent announcement, Microsoft has made, they are basically putting AI or AI-powered technology to pretty much all over their ecosystem, with the big announcement and Copilot and anything like that. And just to understand what OpenAI is, because it is not only the Chat GPT, the chat that we know, it's just an application that we interact with. But what is behind are those GPT models. Currently, we are on versions 3.5 and 4. Those are basically text generators. They are very good at predicting what word comes next. Well, Chat GPT is just an application. It was giving some instruction to behave as a human, to have a most human-like interaction, and you interacted through it within a chat. But there are also some other products or other models that are suitable for something else than is text. and it's the codex, which is good for generating code or predicting the code, and it's good for error corrections. So you give it a code, it still basically tells you what it does and where you made mistakes, maybe. And then you have a DALL-E, and it's very good for image generation as well. All right. Before we actually specifically dive in and talk in deep about Azure OpenAI service, I think it is very important to understand that when we are talking in conjunction with Microsoft, that there are other AI services within their ecosystem, and this is very important because OpenAI service within Azure is going to work with these services to build these very complex and very powerful solutions, and we will have a look into them in a few moments. So just to explain you the slide, starting from the top, I divided this into like two main sections. The first section, and I'm just going to use the laser pointer so you know where I am. The first section is for business users, or these are basically the applications that the users are interacting with, that you come into contact with, right? And it might be your Microsoft 365 applications. It's going to be Dynamics, even some partner solutions. So for example, that's your Outlook or Word, Excel. So these tools are powered by artificial intelligence. For example, in your Outlook, you have an option when you are typing an email to get a prediction on what word comes next. So it's very good on predicting some phrases. And when you actually see the prediction, you can hit tab and it's going to fill it in for you. So it saves you time when you are actually writing emails, right? So this is basically powered by AI. General public, general users, who are using it, they might not even realize that it's being trained on some text, on some models and stuff like that. Then you have the application platform, right? You have your Power BIs, Power Apps, Power Automate, anything within this ecosystem basically that you are interacting with has some AI models, behind them, or they were trained on the AI models. And then we are basically moving to a second section, which is not seen by the general public or general users basically, but it's more for like developers who are building these solutions for them. And here are basically only some examples. There is definitely a lot more, but here are the most recognizable basically services that the companies like you even might work with to build applications. And again, I split it into a few sections. So we have a scenario-based services. How I would understand this is basically there is one service or one feature that is developed for a specific reason. For example, bot service, right? It's a bot service that you can integrate within your website or within your teams, and it's there to serve one purpose. We are going to be using even today Azure Cognitive Search. That's basically very good for indexing a vast amount of documents or vast amount of information, and it making this very intelligent predictions and indexes that you can actually take and work with later on. And I will be showing you because this is going to be a part of our demo as well. And the one I'm particularly excited about is Form Recognizer. This is a pretty cool one. And I'm sorry, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want to tell you a little bit more about this one specifically. This one is pretty cool. So basically, what it does, any handwritten form or handwritten document you might have, you can scan, and it's going to extract the information, and it's going to put it into a digital format. You can even specify how the format should look like and what information should be, let's call it, data mined from this form. So you can then import it to your applications. To give you some example, for example, you probably been to a doctor's office. You come there for the first time. They give you this form to fill in, and it has like your contact details. They ask you about if you have been taking some medication, stuff like that, right? You need to fill in the form. Well, normally the lady assistant, she would, or he would probably just take the form and just start retyping it into the computer. maybe have some difficulty with the handwriting when putting the information and stuff like that. It's a very manual process. So what this actually saves a lot of time when you just give it a scanned document. It's been trained on a vast amount of data by Microsoft. It knows a lot of like handwriting styles and can recognize the handwritten information. So this is a pretty cool one. I actually have it used in my demo as well, just to show you. As I said, I'm not going to go through this all of this, but basically when we are using this together, this is the time when we are making powerful solutions. And again, I'll be showing you that and demonstrating during our like a use case section and the actual demo. And just to finish this up, then we have customizable AI models. This is actually the category where our Azure OpenAI services fit in, because these models are basically there with some specific reason. For example, speech services, and you can train these services or give it or customize them pretty heavily to fit your specific business scenario. And that's what I will be demonstrating today as well with the OpenAI service. And on the very bottom, is the Microsoft or Azure's machine learning platform. So this is how all of these services that we talked about until this moment were built. They were built on machine learning platform. They had to feed it some data, give it some boundaries, tell it what it's supposed to do, and then these models that were the outcome are being used in all of these services. And if you can't find a specific service within the Microsoft ecosystem or within maybe any ecosystem, you'll probably need to develop your own model. And this is the platform that you can use to do that. But without further ado, we are here today to talk about Azure OpenAI services. I think it was very important to understand there is more to it than just OpenAI, because we will be using a lot of these services along with OpenAI or these generative models, as you will see. All right. Let's actually focus now a little bit more about the OpenAI services within Azure specifically. When you are trying to find information online about how to differentiate between just OpenAI as a company and their offering and Azure and offering in the Azure OpenAI services, you are not going to probably find a lot of information. And you are not going to find a lot of information because they are a partnered company, right? As I said, Microsoft owns 49%. They are not going to get go heads against each other. But what Microsoft is basically claiming, and there is one paragraph about it, that they are saying, hey, it is an application or is it a service that is deployed within our Microsoft ecosystem. So it is locked behind enterprise-grade security, and you can actually give it give it like a granular access for people through the role-based access control and authentication. So this means only like authorized people can access these and play with the models, and everything is audited. You can check the audit logs, who did what, and this is basically the one of their biggest benefits that they are claiming. Also, what I would mention is that it is again deployed within Azure subscription, which is a part of the tenant. So all the information that you have there, or the data that you have used to train the models, are saved within Microsoft tenant. This means that they don't leave your company. They don't have to leave necessarily the boundaries of your network either, because Microsoft is giving you an option to secure the networking as well with private endpoints and VNets. This means that any interaction that you may make with these AI models can be only through your company network. It doesn't have to go outside, or the API call don't have to go outside to the public internet as they would do with OpenAI, just for the comparison. And yes, and the other thing is that Microsoft is a trusted platform. It's been around the block for a very long time. We probably use it today. They are claiming that your data is your data. As with anything else within Microsoft Azure, the stored data is encrypted. It's saved safely within your tenant, It doesn't leave those boundaries. And they are also claiming that any form of data that you would use for like training these models, your company data, or the prompts that you use to fine-tune these models are not used by Microsoft to develop on the foundation AI models that they are providing to their customers. That means basically they are, whatever you do within the platform, the data you use to train, they are not using this kind of data for further development. It is your data. And yeah, the pretty big part is also about the compliance. Sometimes, you know, when you are going to the outside public, you are going to your customers, you have to be compliant at some point. And so Microsoft is giving you a security of those these different certifications like SOC 2, ISO, HIPAA, etc. And one thing what is not mentioned on these slides, and again, I will reiterate, which is very important, is Microsoft is co-developing these OpenAI models. That means that they are going to have a pretty tight integration within their ecosystem, and you can pair it with other services within Microsoft to build these very, very powerful solutions. I think this is like the biggest. It's not mentioned in the slides, but it's like the biggest advantage that you can have. That it's all within one ecosystem built on the Microsoft platform. All right. Let's have a look at the Azure OpenAI services, what they basically are. As I already explained, it's a Microsoft service. They also give you an SLA, like a regional SLA for the service, and within the OpenAI services, you have access to different models. We already touched this a little bit. That we have these GPT models. Recently, they actually added a Chat GPT model, which I think it was in March, which is in preview as well that you can use. That's the one actually I will be using in today's demo. I'm using the Chat GPT model. I'll show you that really definitely. And then you have also access to Codex and DALL-E. So it's basically the full OpenAI portfolio that you have access to within Microsoft Azure. Well, today we are going to stick to the generative text models. So we'll be talking about GPT. I'll not touch the Codex today, for example. So talking about these models, it is not always the thing like, all right, maybe I should use GPT model 4 because it's the newest one. It's probably going to give me the best results, or it's going to always fit my scenario the best. It's not really the case with this one, because all of these models were trained for on a little bit different set of data, and maybe they were created with a little bit different specific task. And for example, if you go to the right hand side with GPT for model 4, yes, it has an improved problem solving and reasoning. Yes, it works very well with long content, so you can feed it more information. You probably get better results at the end of the day, but it comes at a cost that it takes a lot of computational power. So this model might not be as fast as you would need, but it might fit some business tasks, but might not be good for when it is like a customer facing and the customer is expecting to get the information like right away. Maybe some other models like ChatGPT or GPT 3.5 might be better because they might be faster for a specific task. And we will have a look like what those use cases are or what those tasks might be. So let's just understand that newer is not always better, but all of these models, they can fit different scenarios, and you are probably not just going to pick one for everything. You are probably going to, when you are fine-tuning it, you are probably going to be looking into which model does what better. And in general, they are just saying like, hey, for the ChatGPT model, as we know it, is like the most economical. It's probably going to be the first one you use because it does everything pretty well, but it's not best in all use cases. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. Talking a little bit more about the specifically ChatGPT model, because we are going to be using it today in today's demo. It is, as I said, it is good at it is basically good at everything to a certain level. But what I'll be basically showing you even today, it's good at question answering. So enterprise Q&A. This is what is going to be my demo about. I'll be introducing it later on, but we are going to have our own set of data with some specific information, and we are going to be asking questions and getting answers, on this internal data. And we all know that it's a conversational AI. What sparked my mind, actually, what came to my interest, that we know that there are like chatbots today. A lot of consumer sites have them, but they have their own boundaries, right? Well, you can augment the existing bots to handle an unexpected questions much better. So it's going to the OpenAI service, or the Chat GPT model can actually handle this as well. And then you have it's good for writing assistance. We all might have used this, when we are trying to develop a content, maybe even for a presentation like this, that we like to have somebody to help us write the content. So yeah, this is about Chat GPT model. And how do we actually interact with it within the Azure portal? As I said, I'll be showing you this I was showing you this live, just to have an understanding. What we have in Azure with OpenAI is that there is something that is called Playground. Playground is a place, just like you see on the picture, where you can actually interact with these different models. Either they are native models, or you customize them in some way, and you just want to test it without deploying it to an application or anything like that. It might be before you actually deploy the new version to the public, and you want to test if it's behaving as you are expecting. Or if you are just trying to find a right model for your business case, this is probably the best way to interact with it. You can just try it right away in the portal. And you might be asking, and how are we actually customizing these models, or how are we basically going to train with some data? Well, the way the Microsoft call is, it's fine tuning. The way I like to call it, you are giving it boundaries. So you are basically telling the assistant or the chatbot or the model basically what it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to behave. So it can be, for example, as we see on the screen here, you are giving it, hey, be a friendly support agent. So you are basically giving it some boundaries. Or you can tell it, only provide answers from the data provided. So you provided some set of data. It can be, I don't know, some PDF documents with some internal information. Only provide answers from that data. And pretty good one, or commonly used prompt can be, if you can't find the answer within the data, just respond with, I don't know, or whatever you choose to respond your bot with. And also, like, you might be asking, what kind of data I can use to train these models? Well, it can be any internal knowledge base. Internal knowledge base, I would just understand it, any type of documents, PDF documents, Excel sheets, whatever your internal knowledge base is, you can just feed it. Structured and unstructured data, it can be also, you can hook up databases. Of course, it would be very easy to hook it up with Azure SQL, for example, or just the services that are available in the Microsoft ecosystem. But you can hook it up into your own on-premise data sources as well. And it can actually work with any operational and transactional data. So in its baseline, any type of data you think might be interesting to train this model on, you can probably use it. And yeah, without further ado, let's maybe have a look into some real life use cases. So just before going to like diagrams, let's or diagrams and specific examples, let's just see like what is in general what we have seen the people and the companies are using these models for. Well, first of all, and we are all very familiar with this. It's a content generation. Well, it can generate the content for me. I give it little instructions, and it's going to generate the content for me. In a real life world, it can suit as automatic email replies. So if you get an email from a customer, it can first act as a human, just extracting the information or the questions that were asked. If it has a data, it can answer the questions right away, or give the correct contact information, or it can even schedule, for example, a meeting if you hook it up with the company's calendar or anything like that. So it can generate the content of the email, and it can take it basically for it's going to like automate the processes as well, right? And then you have a summarization. So this is a pretty big one that is used quite a lot. That you have like a long text of data. We'll be looking into this just maybe even on the next slide. You have a long text of data, and you just want to summarize it. You just want to get the info, the most important bits, right? For example, you have a call center, and there is a guy calling in for a car accident. The call is 20 minutes long, but maybe you want to summarize it into just few sentences, just to get the information about what was he calling about and what was the outcome of it. And I have an example for that on the other slide, but the summarization is pretty big part. And as I said, I'm not going to be spending a bunch of time on code generation, but just to give you an example, maybe it can even give you you can ask it how to retrieve some kind of data, and it gives you a SQL query that you can actually use. So this is a pretty cool one. And the semantic search as well. It is good at knowledge and data mining. So if it has a knowledge about the specific topic, so you feed it a specific documents with some information that is again internal for you, you can keep asking questions about it, and it's going to reiterate on the data that it was given. All right. Let's actually have a look into live example. And as you might remember a few slides before, I was talking about a playground, a place where you can actually interact with these different like OpenAI models. And I'm not going to read these all to you, but I've used this as an example in a previous slide as well. That we have a person calling for a car incident, right? And here is basically a transcribed text. And we are giving it some. This is the information that we feed the model, right? And the content of the call, and we are giving it some instructions what it's supposed to do. Well, what was the main reason of the conversation? Well, the main reason of the conversation was to report on a car accident. Perfect. So we got this one. Sentiment of the customer. So it can even do sentiment, how the call went, how the caller felt, right? Like the emotions, basically. The sentiment of a customer was shaken up by, okay, well, he was in a car accident. I guess he was shaken up. But overall, he calmed down. It was okay. And how did the agent handle conversation? Maybe that's interesting for like a supervisor or for the company, that employs this agent. And we get an information on that as well. Agent handled the conversation well and was empathetic. So this is a good one as well. And what was the final outcome of the conversation? You want to, understand, what was the result? Well, the final outcome was agent started the claim and ordered the tow truck to get rid of the car, which couldn't move, right? And at the end, let's just create a short summary of the conversation, and it creates a short summary of the whole call based on the data that it was given. So this is what it's good at. And right here, you already see like, hey, okay, we can probably use this for various use cases. So let's have a look how I could basically use it and where. And now we are getting to the diagram part, basically, where I'll be showing you a couple use cases that it is good for, and how to build them within Azure, or at least how to think about them. So I'm going to use, this is for a contact center, and I'm going to use this as an example. The same thing as we had before. We had the person calling in, reporting like a car accident. So we have a phone recording basically that is stored somewhere, for example, Azure storage. So we have this audio file basically from the call, where we can feed it to other Azure AI services. In this sense, it's going to be speech to text. So we are going to be transcribing this recording and creating a text file, because our OpenAI services, they work with the text inputs. So we need to convert it to the text. So this is how we're going to do it. We are going to use another Azure service to achieve that. So once we have this output, we are basically giving this data to our Azure OpenAI services. Within that services, we have a pre-trained model that is basically going to extract or do with the text or the transcribed text whatever suits our business needs. So in the previous example, we had that it actually like summarized the whole call and answered some basic questions about how the call went. And you can actually, in this example, you can actually take this data and you can feed it into a Power BI, and you can get from the calls, like, all this process is probably going to be automated, or at least I would like to have it automated, right? All of this data will be fed into a Power BI insights, and for example, you have your supervisor or somebody who is monitoring the how the contact center operates, and they see basically the live information about what is happening, and they can step in and maybe help the agents or mine some very good information. The one I would even think that this might be good for. My first job, I used to work as a service agent. I was like a service desk representative. And we were taking care of like the level 1, level 2 IT questions from our customer. And sometimes it was kind of hard to identify, or it took some time to identify, like, if there is an outage, if there is if there's a problem that is affecting more people. And the time was crucial to put up like a front message that, like, when you call in, it says like, hey, we are aware of this issue, we are working on this, there is a ticket opened, if you are calling for this case, you can just hang up. So this is very important, because these contact centers, they usually have some SLAs that they need to meet, and this is basically what is really hammering on the door, because you have a lot of people calling in at the end. So if you can catch it early, you can probably overcome these situations quite easily. And with this setup, by generating some insights, you can see like, oh, okay, we already had like 4 people within like last 10 minutes who are calling for the same issue. So then you can put up the front end message. It saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of hassle. So this is one thing that I could use for. The other thing, which is quite and very useful, is like you have this call center agents, and after each call, they usually have to like take notes, right? They would have to do it. They would have to do it manually, just like what we've seen on the previous picture, where it was done automatically for us, like the summarization and answering a basic questions. They have to do it. They have to do it manually and log the notes for each case, where they are spending time outside of the call instead of helping people who are calling in. So they are not doing the job they were hired for. They are just, following some bureaucratic rules and trying to fill in some notes. So this can be basically covered by them, by the OpenAI services and this setup. And you can take these notes that they were generated and put into like your CRM system. So you have a note and tickets basically connected to them, stuff like that. So it's pretty useful. And I have another use case, and this one is actually really close to what we are going to be showcasing today. This is very close to my demo. It's not exactly the same thing, but very close. So we have an AI-powered Q&A. So for example, you have your own document library. So this might be your own company data internal. For example, there's going to be information about some products, right? Or you are getting like a white papers for products, or it can be your knowledge base, or really whatever suits the business case. And you are basically going to you are basically going to use, for example, something like a form recognizer as well, because you might have different sources of the data. They might not be all digital. This is basically going to extract the information that you need and you can use further. And we are actually using a document chunking function. So this is like a serverless function that is going to chunk these pretty large documents into smaller sections, and it's just for the case because it saves time, and at the end of the day it saves money, because these models usually work better or faster with a smaller amount of the information, or if you chunk it into smaller sections. They are still forming one document, but you are just chunking it into smaller sections. I don't actually use this one into my demo. It's not that relevant, but if you are building one of these within your company, you are really trying to optimize these models as well. Document chunking is it's a pretty standard thing to do. But anyhow, the important things to take away: you are feeding it a data, and you are using Azure Cognitive Search. What you are using Azure Cognitive Search for is to create indexing. So you want to index these documents, understand basically what is written there, make it easier for any further models to find the information, because it can search for the keywords, and it will come up with the documents where the information is, and that OpenAI model, for example, can generate the text based on that. And so those are my search indexes. And then I'll probably have some user-facing application. We'll have one today. It's going to be a website. We are going to interact there with our model. So it can be a website, it can be a bot. Hey, you can even integrate it within your teams if it's going to be for an internal use case. It can be an application within a teams. So you are going to have basically what a flow is going to look like. So you are going to have users who are going to be, asking some questions. It's going to ask or search for the indexes. Basically, the indexes are going to be fed to a prompt. Just remember, prompt is like my fine tuning. Those are the boundaries. Give it an information only based on the provided documentation. You are a friendly assistant, stuff like that. And then you are going to it's going to be fed to OpenAI to generate the text for you, or to there are different maybe summarize the text or whatever, may process the data, and then it's going to fed the outcome to the user. So this is like a basic setup. This is a very vastly used. A lot of people or a lot of companies are using this over their company data. Some of them are maybe using even this within as like a customer-facing external bot application as well, with some knowledge of, for example, their products portfolio, so they can get questions and answers about their products without searching basically the white papers, which are very lengthy and nobody wants to read, and you can save a lot of time on that, or it's very convenient. All right, I'm getting actually closer and closer to me switching from a PowerPoint and having a live demo, but at the end of my presentation, I would like to just show you, like, hey, it's not as new service as you might think. It is being used by pretty big companies around the world. You can probably recognize some of them. For example, Accenture or BMW. You have Cognizant, you have Strabag, you have Shell, right? Yes, this is not something we've been around the blog only for a couple days. The companies are already using this, to help them with their processes, for example, within their company, or when they are facing the customers. And yeah, just so you understand, this is just some like learning guide. You know, it just giving you. Just have this slide here to give you some overview of where you can start. Just to take something from this slide, there is a lot of information online that you can take, and you can learn a little bit more about how these models work. How to access them. And how to interact with them and stuff like that. There is a lot of material online. And there are places, Microsoft even have like some workshops that they set up around the world to interact with these models, and for developers to actually learn, how to use them. All right, and what might be the next steps? The next step would be if you just need to identify an applicable use case within your business, then you will actually have to set up a Azure subscription within your Azure. It's going to be with your partner, and also you are going to have to ask for a Azure OpenAI access. It is not a service within Azure that is available to everybody. Or to the general public. It's not like you are just creating a virtual machine and you have it there and it's available. It is locked behind a request form. I will show you this request form in a moment. It is not a problem though. You just need to specify, what is your business case and who are you as a company, and Microsoft is going to unlock the doors for you. It's not so scary. It takes only like, I don't know, it took me like 10 minutes to fill it in, and I received an access within a couple of weeks. And the third thing might be that you want to schedule with us a session with us with the architectural design architect to like create a design for you, or help you to create a design for you if you come up with that business case. All right. And without further ado, let's have a look into a live demo. And I'm sorry, I'll turn away from the screen, but I'm not the important one. The important one is the content. So let's jump in to the Azure portal. Before we do so, I would like to show you, like I told you, like there's a request form where you need to actually request access for the service, and it's very brief. You need to give them the subscription when they actually enable it, some contact details, information about your company, as I said, and there's going to be a business justification somewhere here on the bottom, just telling it what you are planning to use the model for, right? And what models that you are actually going to be using and stuff like that. All right, let's not spend a lot of time on this. It's just important to you to know that you need to go through the registration process. Okay, let's jump into the Azure portal. So basically, here I have my demo environment set up. Let me just tell you about it a little bit before we go any further. So I have a demo set up. Basically, there is a fictional company called Contoso Electronics, and they partnered with an insurance company to provide them healthcare plans. These healthcare plans are called Nordwind, and we actually used some data on these plans that were fed to the Azure OpenAI services and the Azure Search Services, just so basically we create a solution. We have the data stored here in Azure Storage, so in a blob container, and I'm just going to show you that we have all of this data, all of these PDF documents talking about the company, talking about their health benefits. And we use this data to train the model on. Otherwise, it wouldn't have a knowledge of this, because it's internal to our fictional company. Okay, and what we also have here, we have an application or a web application, basically, that we are going to be interacting with it in the web browser. So that's basically where it's hosted. And I was talking about that we have some search services. This is basically what is making the indexing over the data that I fed to it. And we also have a form recognizer. This is the one I was excited about, talking about, hey, it can extract data from maybe a written document or handwritten documents as well, and tables, of course. And last but not least, that's the most important one. We have the Azure OpenAI services. And as you can see, I was talking about it like you have like an enterprise grade security. So it is like any other service within Microsoft Azure. You can give it access to specific people. You can set up a private networking with it, etc. You can actually use some metrics for it. It's like any other service within Microsoft Azure. You are interacting with it with the same way. And probably the place where you will be spending most of the time is the Azure OpenAI Studio. So as they like to build for these AI products, they build their own like platforms, websites, portals, however we want to call them. So they have an Azure OpenAI Studio built for that. If you click on it, it will just bring you here. And this is the OpenAI Studio. This is where the playground is, the one I was showing you in the PowerPoint. And just to go through it, this is the chat playground. You can interact with your models, or maybe even with the customized. With the native models that are provided to you by Microsoft or OpenAI. And here you are basically giving it the prompts. What it's supposed to do, how it's supposed to behave. They pretty recently added an option right here to add the customized data. So without training it vastly on training a model, paying money for it a lot and stuff like that, you can just add it like a small sample of data, and you can reference it. You can basically try how it's going to behave based on the prompts you give it. Stuff like that. This is probably the first place where you will start before using all of your data to train the model or anything like that. And deployments, here is just my deployed models. Models I choose here, basically. As you can see, it's not like GPT 3.5 and 4 and ChatGPT, and then you are done. You have all of these different models. They are like a pre-trained native models by OpenAI and Microsoft. They are all good for some specific tasks. Some of them might be very good for summarization, so that's why you would use them. Some of them might be used better at classification, so you use those. Some might be better for some semantic search, so you use them for that. That's what I was saying. For example, we have the Chat GPT model, which I'm actually currently using. Is this GPT 35 Turbo. This is like the Chat GPT model I was talking about, and it's kind of like a good for almost everything, but not proficient in specific tasks. But for example, for summarization, we might want to use a different model, which is called DaVinci. So this is the main premise of it. And if you choose the model, either it's going to be native, or you are going to use some data to train it. You are going to make a deployment, so you are going to deploy. And this is basically a model that you can use with or hook it up to your other applications and services. Okay, let's actually have a look at some examples of how we can actually interact with it. So I'm here in the playground. This is a completions playground. They give me a kind of few scenarios I can go through. All these scenarios are basically here to understand what I can use these models for. So let's just have a quick little look at a couple of them. So for example, I have a model or deployment model DaVinci, and I'm going to use it to summarize an article. Okay. All right, this is an article that was given by Microsoft. Let's get, as an example, let's get rid of that really quickly. And I just pulled this up from the CNN. This is a news from today. You might have already heard about it, that there is an Indian prime minister who is basically visiting a White House. So I'm just going to use this text. I'm going to feed it into this model. Here's my prompt. The only prompt I gave it is like they provide a summary of the text. Capture the main idea. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to generate. It's going to take a second, and it's going to generate an output for me. Okay, and it generated my summary. As you can see, I don't need to basically read the whole news. I can just use this to just summarize the text. And it's just giving me like the main points, right? Joe Biden welcomes Prime Minister, what they are there for, what they are going to discuss, and blah blah blah. Main idea. The other thing that I would like to show you, maybe we want to classify text. This would be like if you are using this for some, you're trying to help you to like classify a certain text, so you can use those classifications or tags or whatever, how you want to call them, for like some further analysis. You can, that might be the data that you feed to your Power BIs. So, and you need to classify them first, or to enhance them in some way, so you can use them with some other applications that they require. So here is just an example for Microsoft. Basically, what we are saying, like, hey, okay, we are going to have some headlines or whatever, and just give it these following categories based on the text, how it understands the text, how it's going to classify it. So the one we have here is for entertainment. This one, it says major retailer announces plans to close over 100 stores. All right, let's generate the category for it. Business. Fine, right? It's about the major retailer. They are closing stores. It falls under business. Well, let's try to change it a little bit and customize it for us. So we have Indian Prime, if I can type, Prime Minister visiting White House. And what I'm expecting here, right, it's probably going to be politics, or it should be politics. So hopefully it's not going to break for me live, but I believe not. It just classified it. Okay, this text or the content of this sentence, it was regarding politics. So and it can do a lot of stuff. And Microsoft is just giving you few examples. What can you do with it, or how can you build some solutions? So this is pretty interesting. Okay. This is what I wanted to show you. Oh, of course, there's one more thing. So basically, when you are trying to figure out, okay, how much it's going to actually cost me this like OpenAI service. Well, it is based on the number of tokens. Each call to your application, each like text summarization, whatever you do that is using your prompts and giving you an output, is going to have use the tokens. Tokens are like they are not exactly words. For example, if you have a word request, it's going to chunk it into a smaller pieces called tokens, and it's going to be request, right? Those are like 2 tokens, just one word. Or you have hamburger, so that's hamburger, right? 3 tokens, 1 word. So it's not equal 1 word equals 1 token. We need to understand that there is it's going to split some longer words to more tokens. So yeah, this is it. What you can do, you can even, like, when you are actually playing with it, or when you are setting boundaries for your applications, you can give it some information about like a max length, like how long, what is the maximum length of your like outcome, and it's going to basically base the output on that. It's important when you are trying to really make it give it some boundaries, so it doesn't go like doesn't give responses that are very long or too extensive, and trying to be conservative about the money. You have these boundaries as well. Okay, and I'm being cautious about the time. I'm nearing the 1 hour mark, and what I haven't showed you is the interaction with our demo environment. Right now, I was just showing you in general what Azure OpenAI Studio is and how can you actually interact with these different models. But let's actually jump in. I told you that I have the demo environment ready for you. And I told you that there is a web application that I deployed, and we are going to interact with it right now, or interact with those custom data right now, right? So I'm basically hosting the chatbot experience within this web application. And just to remind you, I had it trained on a data for like health benefit plans, or that are internal to a company called Contoso Electronics. And let's make some introductions, because this is a tool made, or this is a demo environment made just to understand, okay, there are some prompts that I give the bot. It's going to give me some answers based on the data I train it on. So let's look into it a little bit further. So I know that it was trained on the data for like a health plan. So what health plans are available? Oh, sorry. I was a little vague. It was what health plans are available to Contoso. And I'll explain you why I didn't answer that question correctly. Because it was giving instructions for that. So let's wait for the answer. Right, and now we got the answer, because the Contoso Electronics, we have basically two plans, Health Plus and Health Standard. To come back to this, and this is a pretty good example, actually. I'm glad this one felt on me. I was very vague and about the questions. What are the health plans available, right? And it is actually instructed here. I can actually like see like about the thought process, how this outcome actually got generated. And Microsoft and OpenAI, they are being a very transparent about this as well, because we don't want to go this just crazy, without us knowing like what is actually doing, what is it basing their outcomes on. And let's just read it very quickly, because we can really understand what should we expect of this experience. Well, it says, here's the prompt, here's the boundaries I gave it, here's how I told it how it should react. Well, this is an assistant that helps the company employees with their healthcare plans questions. Fine. A question about the employee handbook, right? Because there's some employee handbook. Be brief in your answers. Okay, pretty okay. Answer only with the facts listed in the list of the sources below. This is like the very important one. So we fed it some data, and just make your answers based on this. If there isn't enough information, say you don't know. And this is what it did, right? What health plans are available? Well, I can be asking about any health plan. I can be asking about health plan of TD Synnex or some other company. Or Microsoft. Well, it's not going to give me an answer for that, because I just instructed it to give it to me strictly information based on the data that I fed it. So when I corrected my question, hey, what health plans are available to Contoso Electronics, which is like the company I work for, right? Well, it's going to give me this outcome. It's going to tell me that I had Health Plus and Health Standard. So and I can reiterate with it. I can take it further. I can be asking, okay, what benefits are included in Health Plus program that are not in standard program? So I'll be expecting it to give me a list of some benefits. All right, and it gave it to me in one paragraph, actually. All right, let's maybe interact it with a little bit further, just like I would do with normal Chat GPT. Give it to me in bullet points, so it's in a more readable format for me. So I can interact it. I can give it in basic instructions like this even, and it's going to give me some bullet points, right? And so maybe I would like to know. Well, tell me more about coverage for emergency services. And it's going to tell me a little bit more about the emergency services. Oh, I'm sorry, jumping. This is actually my mouse that is not working properly, and it gives me an information about that. Well, it was actually instructed to use citations as well. This might be good when you are referring to like your internal documents, or maybe even when you are using it outside of the company and you are using it for some product sheets or white papers, as I said, so it can direct users to a specific paragraph within that document it was cited on. So let's just click on that and let's have a look what comes up. And it basically gave me a document where it's talking about the coverage for emergency room services. There is also some supporting content, as you can see that it has used some other PDFs to generate the content for the message. And the thought process is pretty much the same. Because this is how I built the model. This is the boundaries it is working in. All right, and this pretty much covers my my demo, my presentation. I wanted to demonstrate you that you can actually train on your internal data. This being like a fictional company called Contos Electronics, and they are partnered with Nordwind Insurance to give you some benefits. We were asking you questions about that. We were getting answers, and it was working within the boundaries I gave it. So it didn't actually answer the question. I can actually ask it even like very like competitive questions. Are there any other companies that provide better health benefits? So I'm going to ask it this. What I'm expecting it to tell me, like, I'm sorry, I cannot give you the information. Yeah, and it just did. I don't have that information because it was instructed not to give information outside of the documents I gave it to train on, basically. All right, and I'm really at the end mark here. This is the end of my presentation. I'm really thankful for your attendance, for your patience. Cloudstudio is basically able to provide you with the Azure subscription, so where you can actually request the OpenAI services for, and they are a very good partner to us that are working on multiple solutions, and we can actually work on the OpenAI services together to further enhance your business.